you don't get in life what you want, you get in life who you are. And I just was not the person worthy of having the success within those businesses that I needed to be and wanted to have.
We are heroes and dreamers. We are restless believers, strong.
I am so excited and deeply grateful to have such an inspiring, authentic, and just beautiful guest on the show today. Lewis Huckstep, thank you so much for your time and welcome to my podcast.
Thank you for organizing it. I love connecting with beautiful spirits and just people that are shedding positive messages and impacting people, and you're certainly doing that. So hopefully I can add some value to your audience today, and hopefully we get a beautiful conversation out of this.
I am so convinced of that because I already said that in the pre-interview that you really know how to package wisdom and information so the audience can really take it. And no matter if I'm already very deep in the topic of personal development, authenticity, values, all these things, or if I'm a newcomer, there's so much wisdom in what you teach.
Awesome.
And you're not only a mindset coach, but you're also an entrepreneur. And you started your entrepreneurial journey with 18 years old. Yeah. Would you take us to the 18-year-old Lewis who started to buy a gym, and just tell us about a little bit about how did your life look like back then?
Oh, what a time. It was I like the term the unenthused optimist. The uninformed optimist, where it's like you want to start a business, it's going to be just sex and rainbows and money and Lamborghinis and whatever it may be. And not that those were my big goals. I'm not a very sort of image focused person, but I was just full of hope, full of love, and full of curiosity. And I didn't have much clarity on what it is I wanted to go. I think for most people, when they get started, they just kind of find an opportunity and they run with it. So I was very hungry to learn. It was something that it's always been a part of me. I know we were speaking about that before we started recording as well. But yeah, I was 18 years old. My vision at that point was to be a teacher and a personal trainer in the holidays because I was into sports, so I enjoyed training. I thought I could make more money in the holidays. So I have 2 jobs, and that was the vision back then. And yeah, I just started to get my foot in the door in the health and fitness space, and just led me down an insane rabbit hole that's led me here. 10 years later, it's almost 10 years to the day that I did that. So yeah, I went down. I just asked for work experience. I said, hey, look, I'll work for free. Can I just have some work experience to get started? That transpired into network marketing. So it was actually kind of a network marketing setup. So I went down that rabbit hole, did pretty well with that. And then that led itself into owning the gym. So I owned the one that I worked at after about 2.5 years, opened up a second one within another 12 months, opened a third one within another 12 months. And a lot of it was very naive. It was the uninformed optimist. I was very let's go. Yes, 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 yes. Let's do it. When the business was not, it was built on sand. The foundation wasn't there. The leadership wasn't there. The systems, the revenue, the just business acumen wasn't there. But it's ready, fire, aim. You just put yourself in positions and you make it happen and you figure it out. And there was definitely some very stressful periods in my life. There was some challenging moments, some dark moments that I think everyone does go through. But yeah, it was a great journey. I'm very grateful I went down that journey. It's led me to where I am. So many lessons, so many challenges, so many incredible relationships. I'm actually very close. I'm behind the scenes selling my last gym. So I opened up 3, I've sold 2, and I'm about to sell the last one in the next sort of 2 to 4 weeks, which I'm really excited for. So it's a bit of a close of a chapter for me. But it's been such a great chapter. I think I did the maths. I did over 2,000 sold memberships in an 8-year period. I had an incredible team. I had a team of 15 at the peak. And yeah, it was just went through COVID with 2 gyms. That was interesting. That was a very challenging period, but yeah, got into the self-development route, and that's where I really found my magic. I got into the Tony Robbins, rabbit hole, DeMartini, Joe Dispenza, Kerwin Ray. Just loved the whole self-development route. And yeah, and just enjoyed coaching and teaching along the way. I've been posting content for about 10 years now as well. So love posting content, love helping people. And yeah, about a year and a half ago, just decided I want to do coaching. I want to build it. I know it's my passion. I know I'm great at it. I know I can be great at it. So it was about a year and a half ago when I decided to actually commit to making myself a full-time coach, essentially. So Yeah, that's very much a short version of the story, but it's been a fun ride.
Well, congratulations of like closing that chapter and following your heart and your true passion. I know myself what it's like. And I know that in between you need so much courage and you think like your mind tells you like, but it's smart. Like if I keep going that way and your heart just draws you into a different direction. So like I admire that in you. And yeah, that's a really awesome step. You
Thank you so
said
much.
that the foundation was kind of like built on sand and so on.
Yeah.
Would you say that a part of it was that you were not the person that you are today yet, and that you just could not hold yet to have so many businesses, to kind of like lead your like maybe employees or like have the right conversations with in negotiations?
Yeah.
Or what would you say? What was the reason why?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I teach leadership, and leadership for me is you can only lead someone to the level that you understand and explore yourself. So I had a lot of unhealed parts to me, and I still do. I'm still healing. I'm still working on me, as we all are. But like, I was just such a timid, unconfident guy that would put it as a mask in front of people of achievement. I filmed a video this morning that I'll post soon. It was high achievers hide their wounds and insecurities behind their achievements. And that was me. I was like, achieve, 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 to put on this like front that I'm doing well when actually behind I wasn't. I wasn't okay. I was like I was, and this is not exaggerating. I would wake up at about 3:30 to 4 a.m. because the sessions start early at a gym, and I'd take all the classes, work all through the day, wouldn't eat any food. I'd just live off energy drinks, and then I'd take the classes, which would finish around 8 p.m. Pack up, drive home, get home around 9, get McDonald's on the way home, just huge pig out on food, go to bed around 10 p.m., wake up and do it again. And I did that for like 6 years, 7 years. And I just wasn't at a point where I could delegate, where I could hire the right people, there's definitely the skill set of like systems, processes, KPIs, and actually having meeting rhythms throughout there. But I think the biggest piece, in my opinion, was definitely just me. Like, you don't get in life what you want, you get in life who you are. And I just was not the person worthy of having the success within those businesses that I needed to be and wanted to have. So yeah, then that led me down, I guess, further down that rabbit hole, doing the leadership growth, working on me, working on my level of self worth and self image, getting clear on my purpose, getting clear on my values, getting clear on the vision that I have for my life, and then just constantly leveling up and constantly working on me. Am I the person worthy of my vision? That's the question I ask every day. So it's just constantly working on that, and the skill sets come. I just got off a coaching call before I jumped onto this podcast, and we were talking about her vision. She wants to be a coach and coach people and work on people. And it was just, you need to know the vision. What's the long-term destination? Like, you're driving a car, what's the long-term destination? But you don't need to know all the steps in between. You don't need to know everything. It's like you're driving a car and it's completely dark, and you've got your headlights on and you can see the next 100 meters. You've got the end destination, you've got a map, but you can see the next 100 meters. Because then you take the next 100, then you see the next 100. And you'll fix the plane as you fly it. I use that term all the time. So yeah, you get clear on what you want, become the person worthy of it. I was not that person back then, as you were alluding to. And yeah, and then just constantly working on me, investing into mentorships, obviously reading a ton of books. I love reading, getting mentors to work on me, doing masterminds, doing courses. I still do courses. I did one, I think, 2 weeks ago. And yeah, just constantly becoming the person that's worthy of my vision, and then you will attract it.
I love the ownership and the drive, and you can tell like you're passionate about these topics. So, I would like to talk about healing as well, because you just mentioned you had to heal a lot of parts, and you also talk very openly about the topic of healing and trauma. And I think one very important thing for people to understand is like back in the days, like it's starting to change, but lots of people see trauma as just like big abuse or like a huge car accident or something like big and tremendous happening. But trauma can also be things of like that we didn't feel safe to embrace our authentic self, or that we did not get the love that we so craved as children. So I would like to talk to you a little bit more about your trauma, how you experienced trauma, and then most importantly, what helped you to heal it.
Beautiful. I've got a book on my desk. It's called "You're Not Broken" by Dr. Sarah Woodhouse, and it's how to break free from trauma and reclaim your life. I've got all my sort of favorite books on my desk. That's really served me. I posted a podcast this morning on that. It was yesterday. I posted it, how I healed my trauma. I think it's episode 208, and I walk through my journey on it, so it's pretty fresh in my mind. So, look, the quote that really aligns with me with this is the absence of love is trauma. And if you can just really sit with that for your younger self, because in that book, the book I was just referring to, is she categorizes it really well. She has big traumas in quotations, which are the ones you're alluding to: rape, abuse, car accidents, major, like going to war or something like that, like your big, quote, big ones. And then she categorizes them as other traumas, people that don't necessarily think they are, but they are. And it's things like not feeling seen, not feeling loved, being abused, having an alcoholic parent, having an unstable childhood growing up, having a emotionally volatile parent. It's having those other ones that can also leave those wounds in you. And for people that think that some people have no trauma, show me someone who's not triggered. And I've never found anyone who's not triggered, because a trigger is revealing a trauma that hasn't been worked through. So I guess the way I've been able to heal my journey, and this is a disclaimer for everyone as well, healing, like, find your way. There's so many ways to do it. You can go down the therapy route, the counseling route, the therapist route. You can go down the plant medicine route. You can go down the breath work, the meditation. You can go through the coaching route. You can go to the self-development NLP route. You can go so many different avenues. So I think what's really helped me with my journey is actually experiencing many different forms. The one that I've, I guess, enjoyed the most is from the self-development route. I love Dr. John Demartini. He's probably my number one mentor, and I admire his work, and it's probably had the most impact on my work. His other book that I have here as well, it's called The Breakthrough Experience. So he's probably my number one, and he has in there his formula of how to process anything, any judgment, anything you're holding on to, anything that's traumatic. He has in that book how to do that, how to process it, because trauma is unprocessed memories. Well, how do you process them? That book gives you the formula of how to do it, or a formula of how to do it. So I use a modified version of that for the work that I do with my clients. I've just put my spin onto it and added some questions in that I think resonate a bit more with what I do. But I've had some incredible breathwork sessions where I had this huge release. It was beautiful. I'm into the plant medicine world as well, so I've had some incredible. I had a session last weekend. I do it every 3 to 6 months, and you have these incredible realizations and healing experiences. So don't feel like there's only one way to do things. I actually think that's a very bad way to think about things, because it's just one way and it will limit your ways of thinking. So I recommend people explore different ways, whether they're energy healers, Reiki healers, breath work, plant medicine, therapists, coaching, self-development, NLP. Like, there's so many ways to do it. The one that's moved the needle the most for me, like I mentioned, is Dr. John Demartini. He's probably moved the needle the most for me. Probably plant medicine would probably honestly be the second one that's really helped me do that, because you can't process things you're not aware of. And your subconscious or your ego block out things that you don't want to remember because it's painful. Or maybe it happened when you were 6 months old and you just can't remember back then. But your body keeps the score. That's another book that I have literally right on my desk as well. So your body, it keeps the score. You might not be able to intellectually remember it, but your nervous system remembers it. That's where it comes back to your triggers reveal those wounds you've got. If you get triggered, which every single person does, there's something there. So your triggers are your gifts. Be aware of what's triggering you. Try to find where it's coming from, and then use your tools or whatever works for you to heal through it. Whether it's a coach, a therapist, a psychiatrist, a shaman, an energy healer, a Reiki healer, an NLP coach. I guess that's the category I fall into. So it's be aware of it as you can, be conscious as you can, and then find your ways of healing. And there's so many. So try the ones that work that you're interested in. I just listed probably 5 or 6. And enjoy the rabbit hole and enjoy the journey.
Yeah. I was just thinking, I was seeing this picture as like a big puzzle. And I believe like every of these modalities, because it's the same for my healing journey, is like one of these puzzle pieces. And like one is like, you have to be aware of certain things and you have
Yeah.
to like your mindset and all these things is so important. But then as you said, if something is stuck in your nervous system and your body feels constantly in a fight or fright, you can reframe failure 10,000 times as an opportunity to learn and grow. If your body is in fear mode and survival mode, that does not help you any further. And I think like all these things are these puzzle pieces that put us back into being whole.
I love that. Absolutely agree to that. So find your ways of putting those pieces together. Like I've still got plenty to go, and I'm sure you do as well, Han. So
Absolutely. Lifelong journey, I believe.
yeah, we're always healing. You're never fully healed. And again, show me someone that doesn't get triggered. I've never met
Yeah.
anyone.
You actually have a quote about that I love so deeply. It's life will present you with people and circumstances to reveal the wounds that haven't healed yet.
Yes.
And because you also talk a lot about relationship and especially intimate relationships. So would you tell us a little bit more what you mean with that quote?
Absolutely. So just a disclaimer, I've stolen it and modified it from Peter Crone. So he has a quote that says, life will present you with people and circumstances to reveal where you're not free. So my iteration of that is you will attract people and circumstances to reveal the wounds you haven't healed through. So we all have wounds, like I was mentioning, and the person that will see who will trigger you the most will be whoever sees you the most and sees most sides of you. So that's generally the intimate relationship that you were talking about. Or just if you're not in a relationship, whoever sees you in most versions of you. Because we all have different versions. Like I'm on your podcast right now. You're going to see very limited versions of me. You're not going to see me when I'm super stressed or I'm overwhelmed or I'm feeling burnt out or I'm in a super playful mood. That's why my partner sees a lot more of that than you're going to see on this podcast or the listeners are going to see on this podcast. So, by that definition, they're going to see more sides to you. They're going to see more wounds to you than anyone else. They're going to shine that spotlight upon that wound that you haven't processed yet. Therefore, they're going to trigger you. And I think I posted a reel on this, I think yesterday or the day before, was that's your greatest gift because your triggers are your gifts from the sense of it's given you the awareness. Because how are you meant to heal if you don't know what's there? Like just a transparent one with me and my partner, we're very open about this stuff. Like we had a disagreement the other day where I shined a light on one of her wounds and she got triggered and she went into her wounds and she regressed back to that young girl that was hurt back then. And we had the argument. There was a bit of emotion, give or take. But once the dust had settled, we got the opportunity to unpack that together. And then she's less triggered in that situation because that wound's been healed through. And that's where wounds become wisdom, pain become purpose. So, yeah, and this is the, just a little bit more on the attracting part. It's the judgment people have that something was wrong that makes it a problem. If I say don't look for the yellow bus, you're thinking about the yellow bus, you're looking for the yellow bus. So if you've got judgment towards something, and that's all trauma is a high level of judgment. It was wrong, it hurt me, it was too much, too soon, too quick. And if there's judgment there that it was wrong, that it shouldn't have happened, and it was abuse or whatever it may be, because you're judging it, you're on the lookout for it. So you find it. And you find things even if they're not there. If you think all men are assholes because you've been through some traumatic event with men from your dad or from ex-boyfriends or whatever it may be, and you think all men are assholes, you're going to find them. That's all you're going to find. You're going to find a sea of them. Even though the good guys are out there, you find what you're looking for. This is Henry Ford. If you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right. So it's the judgment that it was wrong that makes you attract more of them, which triggers you. And it's a bit of a vicious cycle. So that's why it's good to be aware of this stuff. So yeah, be aware of what triggers you. Try to find where it's coming from. Your partner is going to do a lot of this for you because they're going to see more sides to you than most people. If you're in a safe relationship where you feel safe to be vulnerable and to open up. And if you're not in that relationship, get out of that fucking relationship and get into another one. Or maybe it's you, maybe it's your stuff as well and you need to work on you as well. But yeah, that's I guess that's my takes on relationships. It's why I'm so passionate about it because when you can get to a point where you are both aware of what I just said, and you both have the awareness and the tools and the consciousness to hold space for each other, to allow both of each other to heal through your stuff, you will do more fucking growth than anywhere else. I posted a quote. I've posted a couple times. It's like, it was along the lines of like, no self-development event, seminar, course, mentor, podcast, or book will ever prepare you for the spiritual growth you'll have in an intimate relationship, because it just doesn't compare. It doesn't compare. When they bring up your wounds from when you're 6 years old, 3 years old, 12 years old, 18 years old, and you're in that, that is your healing opportunity. If you're aware of it and if you have the tools. And that's where I guess someone like me comes into it, where I'm looking for those tools and those frameworks of, how do I do the work? How do I actually self-heal so I don't become dependent on someone who needs me to be there, needs to be with them for me to heal? Why can't I learn how to self-heal? And that's I guess the work that I'm most passionate about.
I feel you so much. I love these topics so much, and I love to like this framework and this ownership of like, instead of like, oh, my partner does that, my partner should change this and this, it's like, where do I need to heal so I'm not triggered anymore by him or her doing this or that? Yeah. And I love this ownership so much and this perspective. And I really think like, if the more people get this awareness, the more peaceful we'll be in our relationships, and more, because yes, of course, like fighting happens and so on, because these things, like, we all have emotions and sometimes we don't manage to keep our cool. Yeah. But then to basically take a step back, close the door and see like, okay, what does this fight or what this circumstance, like, to me, my biggest growth is my purpose, to which I want to talk next about. Like, whatever is coming up, what does this have to do with me? And to start to see also, before, when you said like that, if somebody thinks all men are assholes, they're going through the world kind of, I always see this like as glasses, and it's like this filter through which I'm going to the world, and I don't even see like all the good guys, as you said. Yeah. And once I see and recognize that whatever perspective I have, I will find that. And then I heal it in myself. That's where true ownership, and that's where the life change happens. And that's why I love discussions or conversations like this so much, because I think that gives the people the tools and the knowledge to like really change their life and create a life on their terms, and have the fulfilling relationships, have the fulfilling job, and also to live on purpose, which is the next topic I totally want to talk to you about, because I could listen to you for hours. And it seems like you're reading all the books, all of this comes so natural to you, and you really know how to like package all this wisdom. You have all the quotes very handy, because to be honest, I love quotes and I always mix them up when I want to notice them. Like, I'm so not good with that. Yeah. And it seems like this is a natural gift, but if you dive into your story, it's actually not at all the fact. And you actually had some learning troubles. Like, would you bring us back to like how you were as a child, how you struggled with learning, and then also how you see purpose? You already mentioned before, put your pain into purpose, or turn your pain into purpose. And I love your perspective on purpose as well.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. You articulate very well. You're a very conscious woman. You've clearly done a lot of work on yourself, which is beautiful. So, just wanted to give you some applause. That was beautiful.
Thank you so much. I truly appreciate it, because it's not my mother language. So I'm very hard on myself, and sometimes like, dang, you should have said this differently. So I truly appreciate it.
That was beautiful. Thank you for that. So I guess to start with, I would start with the concept of values. I don't think I've ever done a podcast without at least mentioning the word values. So values are the areas of your life that are intrinsically most important to you. Values are not things like honesty, loyalty, respect, freedom. Those are what people think values are. Values are things you do. What do you think about? What do you talk about? I always use honesty as an example. I say, put your hand up if I do it. It's funny in a crowd. You say, put your hand up if you value honesty. Everyone puts a hand up. And you say, who here's lied in their life? And everyone puts a hand up again. So it's not something you value. It's something you can admire in people and you admire in yourself. But a value for me is an area of your life that is an intrinsic area of your life that's important to you. Family, relationships, health, travel, learning, teaching, music, dancing, like things that you can do. How do you do honesty? you spend money on it? Do you think about it? Do you like, you don't just, it's just a trait in people that we all do. We all express all traits. So, so with that being said, and they come from your voids. So what was a void or painful to you or a perceived void to you becomes important to you and becomes a value of yours. So for example, I had pain around learning. So I was diagnosed with Asperger's, autistic, ADHD, and a couple other things. And I struggled learning. I was my handwriting. I don't know if you can see it on the screen. My handwriting's still pretty terrible. I can't even read my own handwriting sometimes. Sometimes I have to look at it twice. So my handwriting's still pretty rubbish. I was in some special needs classes in terms of learning. Excuse me. And I just had a lot of pain around it. I was really a slow learner. I got bullied a little bit for it. So learning was painful. It becomes important to me. And then another example for people, if you've had pain around image, maybe people commented on the way that you looked, you were the ugliest sibling, boyfriend said cruel things, family members commented on your weight or whatever. So image was painful. It becomes important to you. And whatever those voids are become the values. Those are the things that are intrinsically most meaningful to you and your fucking strengths, what you're good at, what your superpowers are, what your gifts are. So we've all got our own unique set. And the work that I do is the goal is to get your top 4 to 7. So you know what intrinsically lights you up. If you're lacking fulfillment, this is a quote that I would recommend people to write down. Low self-worth is feedback that you're not living in alignment with your own values. So if you just listen to that and take a step back, whenever you're feeling shit, feeling down, feeling lost, beating yourself up, not feeling great, you are not living in alignment with your own values and you're probably putting someone else's values ahead of your own. So if you just really understand that, it's amazing. I had a coaching session with a client about a year plus ago, and we'd done values at this point, and we jumped on a call, and I always say, how are you out of 10 personally and professionally to kick off our calls? And she was like a 4 personally. I was like, oh, that doesn't sound great. I said, well, tell me, how was your week last week? Like, oh, wasn't that great? I said, okay, let's go through your values, the top 3. First one is health. How's your health been? Terrible. I haven't trained at all week and I've eaten pretty poorly. Well, there's your first sign. Second is business. How's your business been? Not good. Haven't done any work on my business. Great. There's your second one. I said 3, friendships. How's your friendships been? I haven't caught up with any of my friends this week. That's why you feel like shit. Like there's no, like it's so obvious once you understand it. It's obvious once you obviously you're conscious of it. So values of voids come from voids. They're the most intrinsically important to you. They light you up. And they're where your gifts are. They're also where your insecurities are. Insecurities drive you to improve on them. That's why they make your strengths. That's the balance of an insecurity to a strength. Then your purpose in life is an expression of your biggest core void or core wound. You can word it that way as well. So whatever your core wound is, once healed, is your core purpose. We have many purposes. I have a purpose of being a father, to being a partner, to being an uncle, to being a dad in the future, to being a businessman, to being a coach. I have many different purposes, but your core purpose, your Northern Star, what are you here to do? What's your greatest gift to give back to the world is an expression of your core wound once healed. It's like a cut on your arm. If I had a cut on my arm right here and it's unhealed, if I touch it, it shocks me and triggers me. Hence what we're talking about before. It's revealing the wound. Once you've healed it like a broken arm, it heals stronger. So once you've healed the core wound, it gives you strength. Because if I think about my core wound, and for context of people listening to this, my core wound is feeling scared and afraid. That was my core wound. Emotionally scared and hurt. So scared and hurt was the words that I used. So emotionally scared, I cried a lot in school. I cried a lot with my parents. There was emotional volatility in my family growing up. Dad punching through walls, mum and dad verbally, physically not great. Like there's a lot of emotional volatility. So I felt scared and I felt hurt. So that was my biggest core wound. I've healed that. I've done a lot of healing on that. Fucking hard work, but it's been done. And my purpose, how I've expressed that. So my purpose is to heal and improve the consciousness of the world. You can see how that is an expression of that core wound. Then you break that down. So this is what the work I do with clients. What's your purpose in life? Then what's your mission? What do we want to do in the next 5 to 10 years to achieve a big ass goal, which is in alignment with that purpose? Then we go through your values. Vision. What's the vision of your life? What does life look like once we've achieved that mission? And we expand on your values to make your vision. So what does health look like? Relationships, business, finances, whatever your values were. Then we break that down into a plan. What's the annual outcomes? Quarterly, monthly, weekly, daily outcomes, daily huddles. We do daily huddles every day. And then we do all the mental work, the processing, the healing, the limiting beliefs, the anxiety, the depression, the guilt, the shame, the ego. We do all the inner work. So we've got the kind of your question you asked about before, was I the person worthy of that success? No, I wasn't, because I hadn't done all that personal stuff. I was doing all the achievement side, but I wasn't doing the personal side. And for anyone that is in the self-development world, a very cliche thing is success is 20% skills, 80% mindset. I was pretty good at the skills. I was pretty good at actually achieving the thing, putting in the work, making the sale, doing the marketing, but the mental, psychological, spiritual side, I was fucking terrible at. I was avoiding that. I was hiding it behind my achievements, right? So, kind of a long answer to your question. Purpose is an expression of your biggest core wounds. Once you understand it, lean into it and heal it, it will give you more fucking fuel and more drive and more inspiration than anything. I don't drink coffee anyways, but I always joke, I don't need a fucking coffee when I think about my purpose. I don't give a fuck about people's opinions of me posting content and getting drilled online, which I get plenty of. I don't care, because my purpose means so much to me, because I'm helping that scared, hurt young boy that I was. You become the person you needed when you're at your lowest. I'm becoming the man, the mentor, the coach, the guide that I needed back then. That's purpose.
I was nonstop right now thinking, that's why I'm smiling so much, that this is your gift, really, to put this into words and to like describe and explain those things. I spend a lot of time as well with all these topics. I read so many books. I do so many courses, just as you. And I feel like you bring them so spot on to the point. This is really incredible.
Thank you.
Everybody listening or watching, write this down, what was just right now explained, and start acting on it. And this is your path to a fulfilled and happy life. So thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you. You're a beautiful host, beautiful questions, beautiful energy. So I appreciate you holding space.
Thank you so much. I was thinking actually also when you said that you were not yet the person that you needed to be. That's what I love. I think like manifesting is a huge like buzzword right now, and everybody loves to manifest. And they're like sometimes out there these some people think I just gotta think long enough and like maybe sit in my meditation and feel it strong enough, and then I will manifest whatever my heart desires. Yeah. And what I love about manifesting so much, or that this gets like spread so much and kind of like more mainstream nowadays, is that the core essence of manifesting is to become the person that attracts whatever that is into your life. And that's why I love also that topic so much. And I love to talk about visions and like, because I believe that a life without a vision, like that's, and I know you suffered as well from depression, like that's what keeps us into depression, or like that's a puzzle piece of suffering from depression. Yeah. And I would like to talk a little bit about mental health struggles, because you've not only struggled with depression, I myself as well, you also had anxiety and even suicidal thoughts. Yeah. So maybe somebody right now is watching or listening and going through such a hard time as well, where it seems like there's no joy anymore, nothing makes sense, my life is meaningless. And what advice or what words do you have for that person, and what helped you to get out to that phase and be as like thriving and kind of like alive right now?
Beautiful. Beautiful question. I'm conscious of like the choice of words, because I am guilty of, I guess, some things getting taken out of context. But look, the greater the pain, the greater the purpose. We just mentioned that. The greater the wound, the greater the wisdom. Like everything that that life is happening for you, not to you. I know these are all very cliched things, but I like to start with that and then get a bit granular with stuff. So everything you're going through is serving you. It's teaching you something. It's helping you to discover your purpose. It's helping you to meet the right person. It's helping you to be on this podcast, listening to this podcast right now. Everything's led you to exactly where you are right now, which is exactly where you're meant to be, because it's where you are. And it's being conscious of just the feedback life gives you. Like I've got a formula for anxiety and depression, because those are some pain points I went through, and they're just mental models that have served me. First, if we start with depression first, we'll go to anxiety second. So my formula for depression, number one, live in alignment with your values. That is the first one. It will take care of 90% of them. Because if you think about, I know we're not doing values today. If anyone wants to determine their values, I have a free podcast, episode 200 on my podcast. It's a free training for 40 minutes, and I'll show you how to do it. So go there if you want to do that. Once you know them, if you just think about with me now, Han, think of what areas of your life are most important. For you, I'd say learning's in there. I'd say coaching or teaching's in there, or healing, whatever you want to call it. I don't know you very well, so it's hard to understand what they are. They might be family, might be friends, might be relationship, whatever it may be. Pretend all of those areas that come to mind. Pretend all of those areas in your life are turning to shit. You weren't able to prioritize them. You put everyone else's needs ahead of your own, and all of those areas of your life are turning to shit. How would you feel?
Terrible.
Do that for long enough, with enough intensity, with enough frequency, with all the beliefs that come along with it. Transmutes into depression. Like, that's the most fundamental answer. It's like, you know how I said self-worth is feedback that you're not in alignment? Depression is just like an extreme version of that. But I have some other steps because I know it goes deeper than that. Second is look after your health. If you put shit into your body, you feel shit. Like, we've all had a big greasy meal and enjoyed ourselves, and you feel horrible afterwards. So eat, train every day, strong body, strong mind, eat good food. Third, I haven't gone through this in a while. Third is get around, heal any past trauma. So from the same book I was referring to, there's trauma, You're Not Broken. There's trauma, traumatic reactions, and triggers. Traumatic reactions is what you do when you're triggered. So say a trauma happens, you have a coping mechanism. It's what you do to survive or to get past the trauma. That might be going and smoking a cigarette. It might be going and eating food. It might be getting anxious. It might be disassociating. It might be getting angry. It might be being depressed. A little story that kind of hits this home. It was an intervention Tony Robbins had on YouTube. It's not there anymore. I tried to find it the other day. And he did this intervention. There was this young girl, and there was these two parents that were there. And I'll summarize the story. When they were fighting, the little girl learned that if she cuts her wrist, it stops mum and dad from fighting. So she found, even though it's not a healthy way to do it, obviously, I'm not encouraging this, she found by self-harm equals mum and dad stop fighting. So you becoming triggered, the traumatic reaction of depression might have helped you get attention, to get love, to get past the painful thing you were going through, whatever traumatic was. Might have kept mum and dad together. Like, I'm not sure, obviously, on people's personal situations, but make sure you heal. Because if you've got like a trauma that once triggered, it makes you feel anxious or depressed, if you don't heal that trauma, it's just going to keep getting set off every time you get triggered. So there's values, live in alignment, look after your health, heal through trauma. The last one is get around the right people. You pick up people's energies, right? If you hang around depressed people, you're going to become depressed, right? So get around confident people, happy people. Like, be around the people you want to become around. So that's kind of my steps for depression, steps for anxiety. So there's 3 versions of anxiety in my book. I'm not a medical professional. Don't listen to what I'm about to say, but this is my opinion on anxiety. So there's 3 types. One is natural. You want to feel anxious at some moments. It's fight or flight. If a tiger walked into our room right now, Hannah, or your room, my room, we're going to feel anxious and find a way to survive. It's very natural. It's sympathetic nervous system. It's things we use to survive. A practical example of that is driving your car. You're driving your car and someone's coming head first about to hit you. Do you want to be really slow and maybe kind of think about maybe doing something about it? No, you want to be sharp, looking for a way to survive. You want to feel anxious. It actually serves us. So that's the first type. Second type is triggered anxiety, what I just mentioned before. You've got a trauma that, when triggered, sets off anxiety. So you want to heal through whatever the trauma is. Third is what I guess most people experience, unnatural anxiety. That comes from not regulating your nervous system, not healing through shit in your head, having limiting beliefs. It's like a culmination of just like living in high frequency, not regulating, not becoming, I guess, relaxing from all the stress that we live in. And that's what I guess most people live in, is that one. It's where it's like you're constantly on edge all the time. So those are, I guess, my 3 ways of defining that. How to heal through it. It's that formula that I went to. That's like an hour conversation, so we won't do that today. But it's those are my views on that. And I guess my journey, which the pain I went through led me down this journey to actually find all these mental models and find all these ways of working on my stuff, because it was painful. So it was a void. So it becomes a value of me to go solve it. This is where, again, pain equals purpose. Wounds equal wisdom.
What would you say on your whole healing journey and also on your journey to follow your heart and like find your purpose and follow your purpose and really make this your mission and to realize your vision? What were your biggest lessons and learnings?
Ah, um, Probably I think the first event I think is or first I guess exposure to things obviously moved the needle a fair bit because it's kind of like pulling back the curtain and be like, oh my god, I didn't realize this world exists. Right? I thought like we had to go to school, go to uni, get a job, retire, get a mortgage, retire and die, and just do that for 40 years. Like that's the I guess the traditional way of thinking. So the first event I went to was a Tony Robbins event. So Unleash the Power Within that he does. He does that in Australia. So I remember I got a credit card to go to it because I had no money back then. I just had to make it happen to get there. So that was really powerful because we went through limiting beliefs then. So that was my first exposure to this stuff. So just learning about just rewiring limiting beliefs. I didn't understand. I was 18 at the time, so I didn't understand the concept behind it. I was just like lost in the experience of the event, which is really cool. And he does like interventions. He does like people who's suicidal, put your hand up and go do it. If you guys haven't watched this movie, go watch this movie. I'm Not Your Guru on Netflix. I watched it like 15 times. It's really good. So I think that was pretty powerful for me. Understanding that. Definitely just to balance Tony out. I love Tony. There's some sort of models he used that I don't necessarily agree with, like the 6 human needs, but for any sort of self-development people will understand what I just said. I don't necessarily use that at all with my style of teaching or coaching. Dr. John Demartini was huge. He was very big. He was, like I mentioned his name a couple of times. So I understand values through him. I remember I was in this wasn't him speaking. It was like someone who's done his work and he was teaching his version of his stuff. And he taught values. And I remember there was a guy in the back and he said, I feel guilty. I don't have family on my values. And I was the same. And I'm like, oh, fuck, me too. Like I feel exactly the same. He's like, why do you feel guilty for not having family on your values? Whose values are you putting on top of yours that you have to have family on your values? And just learning to be, like I think you've mentioned on this podcast, just be unapologetically authentic. Just be absolutely honest with who you are, what you love, and like live a life accordingly. Like do what you love, build a life that you love. So DeMartini was pretty big. He probably moved the needle the most for me if I had to pick. I did Kerwin Ray. He was huge. He was more of a business mentor to me. I did his mastermind. He's got a mastermind in Australia that I was a part of for, I think, 2.5 years. And that was really powerful. So for any people that want like a business sort of internship, highly recommend Kerwin's stuff. He's really good. So that was awesome. I got a lot of leadership. I've got a funny story actually that I got from him. So they do masterminds where you get like a table of like sort of 12 to 15 business owners. And I'm like 21 years old and I'm the youngest on the table by about 20 years. And there's like people that are 30, 40, 50, millions and dollars of revenue. And I'm like this kid with a gym and like, really fish out of water. And I was like, in my head, I'm like, I'm looking for all the strategies. I was saying that I want the strategy, the skills and all this stuff. And I was really avoiding the personal stuff. And like it's my turn, so they go around like one at a time and they pick you apart essentially. So you share what you do, your business, and they just fire questions at you to pick you apart and figure out what you can do to grow. And I'm ready for like, hey, my name's Lewis. I own a gym. I want to learn how to make more marketing and sales, and I want to scale my business. The first question I fucking get, what's your relationship like with your dad? That was the first question. I was like, fuck, here we go. And it was like, not good. Like, don't really speak to him. We haven't, whatever. And that was a big journey to the self world. So that was a big shift for me. I read the book, The Way of the Superior Man. It's actually behind me on my shelf. So that's a really good book that I recommend for men and for women as well. I think women will get a good perspective out of it. So that was really powerful. Dr. Joe Dispenza, big fan of him. I just finished reading Becoming Supernatural for the second time. So I've been really enjoying Joe Dispenza again. Wayne Dyer, he was really good. I really love his stuff. Dr. Sarah Woodhouse, I love her stuff. Yeah, they're probably some of the bigger names, but like I love it. I'm doing Ray Dalio at the moment, so I'm reading his stuff at the moment. Jocko Willick's been huge. Simon Sinek was huge. John C. Maxwell, that's more of a leadership guy. He was really awesome. Jay Shetty, I love Jay Shetty's stuff. Lewis Howes, fuck, I could list a ton, but yeah, those were some of the more pivotal moments for me.
Amazing. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing. And for everybody who's as amazed like I am with all your knowledge. Your like also your energy is so amazing, and you can just feel your passion for these topics and your core like hard wish to help people. And I really, really admire that. Like,
Thank you.
how can we find you? How can we get in touch with you or even work with you?
Beautiful. Look, Lewis Huckstep across the board. Instagram is probably the best. I'm personally on that, so I do all my posting of all my content on Instagram and TikTok. I do have a VA that does post on the other platforms for me, but I do personally all of my posting, all of my messaging on Instagram and TikTok. So Instagram would probably be number one, and Facebook as well. I don't use Facebook as often, so Instagram's probably better. Yeah, just type in Lewis Huckstep, it will pop up. And yeah, like even if you just want to chat, I love chatting. I respond to all my messages. It takes a bit of time sometimes, so give me a couple of days. But I do respond to everyone. If I do forget to respond, just send me another message, bump the message back up, and I'll get back to you. But yeah, I love connecting. I love people. I love what I do. I'm very passionate about what I do, and yeah, if I can add some value to you, I'd love to.
I will link everything in the show notes. And to you, a huge, huge thank you for your time, your knowledge, for being here, and also for having the courage to follow your heart and like following your purpose and really doing what you love and spreading all these knowledge and wisdom bombs with the world, because I believe that's what we all need. And there's a huge shift in consciousness, and everybody like needs to have these skills and knowledge to heal themselves and get back and take ownership of their life to create a life that's authentic on their terms. So thank you so much for your work, and thank you so much for being on my podcast.
Thank you for your time. You've been a beautiful, beautiful host, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, I would like to know from you, what was your biggest takeaway and how can you put it into action starting now? Leave a comment below or hop over to Instagram at HannahWiz_ and leave a comment under the post of today's episode. Thank you so much for watching, and never forget to shine your light.